Hello everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all sorts of things, zero waste, focusing on free, easy, and fun ways to live low waste and ways that we can all be activists. And that's what we're talking about today. How we're going to be able to turn this into this. That's right, we're going to be taking boxes, Girl Scout cookies, pasta, fruit bars, you get the idea. This is thin cardboard slash paperboard that we're going to be turning into postcards to send to the government. If you're watching this video and you think, whoa, I am certainly not an activist, that does not fit me, I highly encourage you to check out this video, probably before we even get started, doing things like microactivism, using a reusable water bottle. That's boycotting big oil. Picking up a piece of litter is saving the environment. Now, I know my reusable water bottle right here on its own is not the only savior of the world, and that is why I encourage people to do lots of small things throughout their day, over time, and it will all add up. I know that this is not gonna change the world and save the world all on its own. It does make a difference, so let's get into it. What you will need today is some thin cardboard. You do not want corrugated cardboard. The shipping of that will not be covered by the cost of a regular stamp. Next, you will need some sort of tape measure or ruler. You'll need some sort of writing implements. I've got a variety of pens, Sharpies. It will need to be able to write on this brown material, so probably not something like light colored. You will also need some stamps. I've got some postcard stamps because postcard stamps are cheaper than regular stamps, and that's really all you need. But optionally, if you want to cover up the designs on your boxes, you can get some sort of art supplies like paint, stickers, whatever you want. I found this magazine here in the trash while I was walking Denahi the other day and thought this would be a really fun addition to glue onto the back of one of my postcards. So step one, we're going to make a template. So pick one piece of cardboard, set the rest aside, get out your measuring tape, and we are going to be measuring them 4 inches by 6 inches. See, as you can see with this one, it's like 5 3/4. As long as it looks close enough, they're gonna take it. What I mean is, you can't put this entire thing in the mail with a postcard stamp. Obviously, do 4 by 6 as often as you can. And then for this other side, I'm going to take my 4-inch and measure. I'm going to be cutting off these little flaps. I forgot one of the most important pieces of equipment. We need some scissors. Anyway, it is best practice to cut off these little flaps right here, and we will just put all of these little scraps aside and recycle them later. So there's my flap gone, set off to the side. Now we have these two, which are slightly below normal size, so I am not going to be using these as a template. I'm going to, once again, make a new template out of a bigger size box. We're going to get out our measuring tape again, and we're going to measure 6 inches across, and then we're going to measure 4 inches down. This one underneath is just slightly bigger than this one on top. Now that we have our template, we can use this same exact one, to cut out a bunch more. So that way we don't have to measure every single one, because it can be kind of tedious to measure. So I will just lay it on here like so, and then use my scissors to cut along the line. Now, because this one on the bottom is a new one, I'm going to set that aside. We're going to keep using the original one as the template, because if we were to use that new one as a template, it might be slightly different size than this one, and it could just end up being like a game of telephone, and that by the end you have something really wonkily sized. Wonkily is a new word. So this all started with a campaign called Project Mailstorm. This is essentially just a campaign to send the government a bunch of mail to keep them busy with busy work, hopefully do less evil things. We want to bother them. That is essentially what we're doing here. We are bothering the government. So if you want this to be counted as a form of actually contacting the government, you need to prove your constituency. And typically that means including your entire first name, your entire last name. It's not traditional to include that on a postcard. So if you actually want to contact your government and have it counted as a meaningful means of targeting and contacting your representatives, you should really do that via phone or email. It's gonna come across their desk. Somebody has to file it. Somebody has to look at it. So if you want the government to actually do something, if you want to tell them how you actually feel, this is not the way to do that. If you want to bother the government, if you want to take up their time with busy work, because essentially I learned this from doing student activism, your postcard might not make a difference, but it will take up somebody's time. Busy staffers with busy work instead of doing evil things, hopefully. Obviously the government is still doing evil things. It's not a foolproof method, and ultimately I would rather do this than do nothing. My biggest piece of advice here is let this be your starting point for activism. This is a very approachable way to be an activist, right? If this is the first thing that you do to be an activist, that is amazing, but I encourage you to do more. Download the 5 Calls app, try calling your reps. I know it's scary, but just give it a try. If you would rather start with sending them an email, use ResistBot, head to congress.gov, start signing petitions, join a local mutual aid, go to a protest. Don't let this be the end of your activism, because quite frankly, this is not going to enact change. It's just bothering our representatives, which is fine to do. And ultimately, the other piece of this is it really just is cathartic. It feels so good to cut out a piece of trash, save this piece of trash from the landfill, whatever emotions you need to get out on your unofficial postcard. Anyway, I say all this because I don't want to mislead anybody that this is the biggest and best thing that we can be doing right now. This is just a thing that we can be doing. Calling your representatives is much better than sending a postcard, but even then, a phone call is not the biggest and the best. Activism as a whole and getting progress done comes from continuous actions across multiple different sectors, right? We need so many people to fill so many different roles in the activism space. Whatever you decide that your role is valuable and it is needed. We don't need every single person doing the exact same thing, because if we were all only calling our reps, if we were all only protesting, truly nothing would get done. We need to tackle these things from all fronts. And if you're like, what do you mean, my role in activism? What is that? You can check out this video next, which has several different roles that encompass all sorts of forms of activism. For me, when I do this, I like to do a whole bunch at a time. You absolutely could, like if you just use this one box of crackers, make your 2 postcards real quick and be done with it. I like to do this in a bit of an assembly line, and then I will draw on the lines, and then I will write my messages, and then I will address them, and then I will stamp them. Ooh, these ones are white. Have a lot of potential for you to do more art on, but obviously if that doesn't work for you, if you would prefer to like cut one, write one, stamp one, send one. I've also seen people as part of Project Mailstorm, like sending an envelope full of trash, like receipts. I chose this method because it's free, other than the stamps, and it's low waste. I don't have to buy any new materials to make my art, to make my postcards, but recycling is not a foolproof option. Recycling does have its downsides as well, which you can learn more about in this video. So we have all of our postcards cut out. We've got a whole bunch of different options here with lots of different trash and brand labels on the back. The next part of my assembly line, which is lining the card. This is not necessary. I just like to make it look as obviously like a postcard as possible to ensure that the mail workers don't throw this away. I want them to be able to recognize that this is a postcard, it needs to be sent. When I'm writing my message over here, I will need to ensure that I have room for the address. We're gonna go ahead and line these real quick. I typically do about 2/3 down the card. I will write my message on the left, my address on the right, and then I do about 5 lines like this for the address itself. Oh, sometimes it'll be 6. If you don't have cardboard, like you don't consume a lot of snacks and stuff, I usually don't. I bought a lot of these for our backpacking trip that we just did. Ask your friends, ask your family, ask your neighbors. Postcards are lined. Now it's time for the fun part, writing our messages. For me, I just use current events to influence me into what I want to say. I write my messages and then sort them depending on recipient. So if you're not a fan of genocide, you can also write a couple Free Palestine ones as well. Okay, so we've got options for 5 recipients. I can always add more. I can always take some out if I don't want to do 5 recipients. And truly, your message can just be this. It can just be a couple words on a piece of trash. It doesn't have to be anything long or eloquent. This one, I am going to switch to pen. I am going to write something maybe a little bit more lengthy, just about the coal mines. We've started to see a lot of differences and changes with the VA over the last few months. I do a lot of repeat messages because again, like I think another prominent point to these is that mail workers will see these and it might inspire them to do something similar. It might inspire them to change their mind. It might educate them about what's going on because not everybody knows what's going on all the time. This one I always send to the Department of Homeland Security. Get concentration camps off of stolen land. So if you head to Instagram, in particular, if you go to my page and you click on this middle pinned post right here, this rainbow one, it'll show you activism resources in which you can scroll through and you can check out apps like 5 Calls, Resist Bot, this app right here about boycotting and divesting, voting with your dollar, and then keep going. And we have prominent addresses that I use a lot, the White House, the DOD, the DOI. This is also the resource that I use to get all of my addresses. If you can't find any on here, these were all super easy to find on Google. I was able to very easily Google White House address. If you want to write to your state representatives, also go to congress.gov, find their physical address there. JD Vance has the same exact address as Trump. They live together. It's very cute. The post right next to that, that's pinned, is a step-by-step photo guide on how to make these, if that makes more sense to you. Those are my only pinned posts, so they should both be really easy to find. Other ones I have in this post, Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK. I've got Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent. Head of the EPA, Lee Zeldin. He probably should have gotten some. U.S. Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller. FBI Headquarters, Kash Patel. So there's more options if you don't want to write to these same 5 people that I wrote to. It is now time to stamp. My favorite part, because it means I'm done and I love putting little stickers on. This is also where I will sort them into piles to send. So what else I do is, you know, I've got 4 for Kristi Noem. I'm not going to send all 4 for Kristi Noem in the same day. I'm going to do 1 for Kristi Noem per day. I'm going to do 1 for the president per day. I like to do this to kind of spread out my work. I will probably only send like 3 per day to make it last like at least a week, and also to keep mail coming to their inbox. Just to keep a consistent flow of mail going to their inboxes. prices. I don't know if it actually works. I don't know if it doesn't work. Quite frankly, I'm okay spending an hour or two per month doing this. I'm okay spending 20 bucks on stamps or whatever it is in the hopes that it might do some good. You know, at the very least, it'll inspire people online to do more activism. At the very least, it will inspire my postal workers to get involved and to take action as well. At the very most, it might actually change somebody's mind. It might actually get across a staffer's desk and make a staffer realize that they're working for an evil person. There is potential here for this to do some legitimate good in the world. If you don't want to waste your time because there's not a guarantee that this is going to work, this is just an option for those of us who want to do something artistic and potentially useful. This was a perfect amount of stamps. Uh-oh, we do have a little bit of trash here. Don't crucify me. And I've got 7 stacks of 3 postcards. So I will have a week's worth of postcards to send. Hooray, I'm all done. That's how I've sorted them. So when it comes to decorating, you can do it at the end, you can do it at the beginning, you can do whatever works for you. I'm going to do it now because I don't usually decorate, so I kind of forgot about this. When it comes to gluing stuff though, I try to be very sure that it is glued down fully. Again, for the mail sorting process, I don't want it to like tangle any machines. I don't want it to fall off and get stuck on anything. Here he is, little Trump on a tank. So here's what the rest of them look like. They literally just look like trash. And I think that's something is beautiful to just send the government my very obvious trash. Yeah, once again, if you feel like this is just a waste of your time, and honestly, it might be a waste of your time, nothing might come up. And that's just part of activism, right? Like my phone call, nothing might come of that. Going to a protest, nothing might come of that. And having that mindset, that attitude that nothing might come of this, so I might as well not even try, it gets us nowhere. Because sending a postcard, calling my elected officials, going to a protest might result in progress. But you know what will not result in progress? Sitting here in my home, doing nothing, hoping for progress. Just cursing the world because the world is so evil. That does nothing. I would rather at least try. That is my own personal mindset. Not to quote Hamilton, I may not live to see our glory, but I will gladly join the fight. Lin-Manuel Miranda was spitting with that line. I would rather join the fight. I would rather send a postcard. I would rather go to a protest. I would rather go to a mutual aid organization. I would rather do any of that. Even if nothing comes out of that ever, part of activism is you have to learn to be patient. We are so used to instant gratification. Ordering something and it shows up at our door. Immediately getting an audiobook downloaded to our phone. Whatever it might be, getting that instant gratification, it just does not happen that often when it comes to activism or any sort of progress, any sort of movement. You have to try today and tomorrow and the next day and potentially for weeks, months, years, decades, and again, you might not even see the results of what you're working for right now, and that is what progress is all about. Like literally any movement, you can put any movement, any sort of progress in that blank and think, there are plenty of people who were part of that movement, who were fighting for that movement, who did not live to see the success of that movement, but the movement succeeded anyway because of that person's work and everybody's collective work together. Because once again, your work matters, my work matters. It matters even more when we do it together. When all 40,000 people who subscribe to my YouTube channel do this one small action together, it can make huge waves. So that is why I do these small things. It seems meaningless, it seems like a waste of my time, but every single way that we can push back, especially against fascism, dictatorship, authoritarianism, absolutely all matters. Rather than just sitting idly by, waiting for someone else to rescue us, we might as well at least try. Again, I know this alone is not going to save the world. I can't stress that enough. It does matter. Every single small thing that we do matters. A little crafting, a little yapping, a little hopeful inspiration. Thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. Thank you for taking the time with me to make some postcards out of trash to send to our government. Thank you for practicing activism. And if this is your first step, welcome. You are an activist. Good work in taking that first step. If you want more ideas on how to be an activist, I have this video right here and lots of videos down below on activism from beginner to advanced, activism from different roles that you might fill, how to build community, and things like that. So check that all out down below. Let us know what you wrote down below as well. I will show you some quick clips of what I wrote if you're still looking for inspiration at the end of this video, but please leave your inspiration down below as well because I would love inspiration. I find that sometimes I can get stuck in what to write, who to write to. I'm always hoarding boxes. Every time I go to a cookout or a potluck or something and somebody brings a box of soda or beer, I'm like, hey, can I have your box? I'm always taking people's boxes now so that I can have a continuous hoard of cardboard so that I can make even more and even more and even more. This might not be the most important piece of activism that I do, but it sure is one of the most fun. It is a little craft. It's just a little sit down, listen to an audiobook while I do this. I find it a lot of fun. If it's not for you, that's okay. It's not for you. You don't need to slander this form of activism. If you see somebody doing this online, if you see somebody making a phone call and that's what they post about online, don't slander them. It is so much more encouraging. And I'm sure you heard me say it throughout this video. Like, this is such a great place to start for your activism. Great job in writing your postcard. Have you tried calling your reps too? Have you tried going to a protest? You can come to a protest with me. I'm driving. You wanna come attend with me. Don't slander somebody for doing a good action. If it's not enough in your eyes, quote unquote, inspire them to do more, help them do more, teach them to do more. Instead of just saying, that action sucks, that gets us nowhere. Butting heads on the same team, fighting, inter-team fighting, gets us nowhere. We have to be encouraging to each other on the same team, because guess what? We're actually all on the same team, except for the government. It gets us nowhere. We have to work together. And encouragement and inspiration goes so much farther than insulting somebody. So please be kind, inspire people down below. Let us know below how you partake in activism, and follow for more activism content. I'm still going to be posting about zero waste. I have been this entire time, but I love to sprinkle in little activism here and there, especially when it's zero waste activism made out of trash. Beautiful mixture of my two niches, I suppose. I wouldn't necessarily say they're interests, they're just my lifestyles. So if you like any sort of content about eco-living, activism, eco-activism, be sure to follow along. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. But until then, remember that your small actions make a big difference in the long run. Bye, guys. But my best piece of advice here is actually to... Sorry, I'm making a new template. That one was kind of crooked. Shoot, what was my biggest piece of advice? JFK. RFK is his name. The ghost of JFK. But I think it was good. I hope. Hopefully it was good.